This is a 7-year-old POA. They said that she is well broke. The people that had her said they rescued her as a 2-year-old out of a bad situation, and that she had a halter completely grown in her face, and they actually had to have that halter removed. She still has scars across her nose and down the bridge, across the bridge of her nose and down the sides of her face from that. But for the last 5 years, they've owned her, and they said that basically they're not really horse people. They had just saved her from a bad situation. They had a neighbor kid that broke this little mare for them. And she has been being ridden by that neighbor a little bit. She's been on some trail rides, but she's a 7-year-old POA. She's black with a blanket. She does have the molting on her nose. Again, she came from that same cow sell barn. And listen, you guys, that sell barn is notorious for the horses coming out of there with their feet being pretty sore. And let me tell you why. If they are even remotely trimmed, it has concrete grooved floor throughout the entire facility with nothing but concrete grooves. And these horses just can't take that to be there for a day or two on that concrete. So you're going to see these 3 horses that came out of that barn just be a little bit tender in their feet. I do not think that this lameness belongs to them. I think that the first horse, they announced that he had been trimmed like the day before he went to that sale. And the next morning when they sold him, he was lame and the owner called it. These other 2, it wasn't called, but I can tell you from the history of that barn, we get a lot of horses come out of there tender-footed, and you'll notice all 3 of these are. And I just want to call it to your attention because I also want to just reiterate that I do not think it's a permanent issue. I think that they're just a little bit tender-footed from being on those concrete, and they groove the floor out so that when livestock piss and shit, they can still get traction in those grooves instead of it getting slick and slippery. But the problem for horses is those grooves just notch their feet out, and it's like just standing on rocks the entire time you're there. So it is a problem. We have had this issue with horses from there in the past. Normally I just give them a week to kind of freshen up, but we just have a lot going on this week. I don't have the time to let these stand for a week and let their feet toughen up. But this is a 6 to 7-year-old POA mare. As a 2-year-old, she came out of a very bad situation. She's been owned by the same family for 5 years. They are not horse people by anybody's standards. Never had her teeth floated, never been tube wormed. They have her trimmed every 3 to 4 months. But they just basically said that the economy's getting tough, and they just really couldn't afford to keep her anymore. Their neighbor is a young kid. He broke her out for them, and he rode her. She has no buck or rear up. She's been on trail rides. She's been ridden in some parades in town. But I would call her a little better than green broke, and I wouldn't call her fancy broke. I would say she's pretty good basic broke, and she's a nice pony. She's about 14 2 hands tall. She seems to be super sound other than just being a touch tender-footed. She does need her teeth floated. She does need a good worming, but she's in good flesh otherwise. And again, she does have some scars on her face from where she was rescued as a 2-year-old out of a bad situation, and the halter was grown into her face, and it did leave a scar across the bridge of her nose. Super, super nice little POA. She plows 1,500 acres. These horses are priced right there at recip kill price. They are urgent. They have till the end of the week. This is a great, great, great find for somebody looking for a sound, young prospect that you can take home, float her teeth, and put some time on her, and you'll be really proud to own her. Again, she plows 1,500 acres, 6 to 7 years old, 14 2 hands tall, and she is tag number 598.